Hi, Internet viewers. Frank Rauscher again. We are actually going to try the mount the Great Horned Owl. Okay, I'm going to show you how I approach it. We're pretty much done on the painting. We could go crazy even more, but I'm not going to do that. I think this has got a lot of detail for the size of the bird, and it really comes out, I thought, pretty sharp, but all depends on what you like. I'm going to show you a couple examples of how to approach this and what I decided. And there's different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you a piece I did several years ago. I can't say when, probably maybe 8 or 9 years ago, of the Great Horned Owl. And I'm going to try to show this one to you. And that's this one here. And it's on a base. And I have a piece of wood. So if you're looking at it, the piece of wood comes up and then it goes out. You can see how it trails out. And of course, there's some other piece in the back here. And depending on the wood, you try to find something that's interesting. And you also have to deal with this. The feet, this is like the front of the bird here, but he's got his head turned. So we're playing with that too. So you have to present him in such a way that you're seeing him, but actually his feet are on this side and his head's on my side, I should say. So you have to watch when you get a piece of wood to balance out the owl. And I'm going to try to show you a couple pieces that you may want to consider. This is like a piece of wood. I have not mounted it on, but you can see it comes up and then it has a kickoff. It could have wood going up further too. And then the trick of it is, if I turn this around where I want to come in and mount the bird, you see if I'm worried about getting the feet, which is on this side of the bird, but the bird ain't facing you. So you have to turn this around, or you got to make something work with you where you can get the feet on and still have an interesting pose. So you have to sort of create that, okay? Or get, this is a pretty long stick. And I should move back so you can see all this. And what's happening is you're perching it on that piece that goes on an angle, but you want to sort of show the face off and the shoulder and what have you, so it's looking at you. So this piece is going like this, and then this is going out the back end of the piece, say, and that is something you have to find a piece that's going to look good with it mounted on the piece, perched on there, and at the same time presents the bird well, okay? And then here's like another one that I had, and it's branchy and stuff like that. And again, if I look where it has a turn to it, and you want to anchor this into a base and get this up onto the branch, he's always facing away. So you have to find a piece that's going to be presentable so that the owl is looking at you, and you got the best look looking straight at you. And at the same time, you want the wood to look balanced and everything else. So I came along and I got a base and I saw this wood. So a lot of times you're always seeing them, maybe an owl in a tree or something like that, or in this case here, this could be like a log or a stump of a tree. And I ended up choosing this, and we're going to build off of this, and I'm going to show you how I did that. But I'm going to come along, and what I did, this was more pointed, the wood, so I shaped it to get it where I wanted it. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how I did this, but I'm going to just plug this in here initially. This is the whole base, and here's the owl, and now it's looking at you, and it looks like, hey, he's sitting on top of that log or stump or whatever, and that's what I'm trying to portray here. Okay, so you can see the base, and I have this, and I didn't want something real big, because then it becomes a problem. This here is about maybe 8 inches long. Sometimes if you get real long big pieces, you have a hard time putting it on a shelf or something like that. You can even cut this down a little bit, but I wanted to get a little height so he looks like he's sitting up high. But you can see he's looking straight at you. At the same time, we're going to put feet on this guy, and he's looking away, you know, so we got to make that whole thing work. So I'm going to show you how I do this, and then we'll proceed on, and I'll show you the steps I have of finalizing the owl. You didn't think we'd ever get there, but we got there, and it's still got a little bit of work in front of us yet, so it's not like we're out of the woods yet. We're still in the woods, but we're real close now. So I don't know how many videos, it may be this video, depending on the time and how much it takes to show you all that I need to do to finalize it. So I will go through it and explain it within this video, and if we needed an additional one, I'll follow up with that to do the final, because we have to get feet on. I'm going to show you how to do that, and also we got to paint them, the feet, and we got to make that sort of blend in with the body and what have you. So I'll show you how to do that too. So bear with me, and we will move on, and we will get the owl done, believe it or not. I know a lot of you are thinking, how many videos can he make to extend this thing? And I didn't want to make this many, you know, because I would hope that you guys would stay interested. And some of the painting is, like I said, as I explained as I went along, is a chore. But this is how you really, you know, I'm trying to show you techniques on how to do it and stuff like that. This bird is so busy. If you ever got up to a real great horned owl that's mounted, you know, or something like that, and you really got to see it, I'm not even close to the patterning work that's on it, but we made an attempt. So it's what I consider a good shot at it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this challenge, okay? The other thing I also want to mention, and I usually do this in the front end and in the back end of my videos, that the stuff I use, the tools, the burning units, the bases I use, I'm going to be using some moss. It's called reindeer moss. I use that to dress it out, and I haven't done that yet. And I'll show you how I use that. And if you ever need any of this stuff, either the power equipment for shaping, or the burning units, or the pens, or the eyes, I have kits. I have patterns for a lot of other birds and kits for other birds as well. Glass eyes, you name it, I have it available. So if you need any, you can contact me, and I can send you a catalog out if you give me your email address. And if you can get my email, I can give it to you right now, but it's in the body of my description in this video. So if you go to there, you can get it as well. But it's Rauscher, Rauscher, Frank, Frank 7 at gmail.com. So if you just get it to me, I'll send that out to you, and we could try to get you off and running too. And if you follow my videos, I think you'll have pretty good success. Well, you know, it's everybody's level of capabilities, okay? And still in all, if nothing else, you'll get the basics on how to attack it and create a bird, you know. And I've done animals too. I've done, what's the name? Otters, and I've done a lot of animals. I've done raccoons, I've done deer, I've done elk, I've done polar bears. I've done a lot of different things, and I go for a lot of realism. So if there's anything that I may be able to help you with or something like that, definitely contact me. The other thing I'm trying to do is build up my following. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate that greatly, because that's really very helpful to me, and it helps me with YouTube setup. So I appreciate that. So, and if you have anybody that's looking to get this information, or a friend or something like that, definitely, if you can pass my information on, I'd appreciate that. So we're going to take you down, and we're going to try to see if I can't button this thing up. So let's give it a shot. And thanks again for staying with me as long as I've been playing with this bird, you know. So maybe the next one won't be so torturous. Okay. Thank you. And we'll be pursuing the rest of it. Bye. Okay, here we go again. This is some of the wood that I was showing you before, and usually you're looking for a piece of wood that comes up and then bends over. And if you're trying to mount the bird, you know, you want to have it so it's sitting on a branch. And depending on how you turn this thing and how you show it, if we were like, I'm going to try to get it so you're looking in view here, this has to sit on the branch coming across this way, because your feet are going to sit there, and you want it to look at you when you're done. So these are things you got to sort of find a piece of wood that would present it. This is another one, and if you just sat it in there, it's okay, nothing wrong with it. And this is on the back part, so what would be interesting may not be that interesting. You know, you'd sort of like to see it come out the side this way or that way, and then you could prop the bird in there. And you need something where not only is the branch comes straight up, but then you need something so that it fits in there and it doesn't look like it's tilted or something like that. You sort of have to prop it up. So I'm going to show you with that one I sort of showed before how I go about doing this, but with the bird that we did, it went like this, and I'm going to show you. This was a piece of wood that I cut off here, and then this is like a hollow. This is like a branch that was hollowed out. It was a piece of driftwood type, and I thought this would be a good presentation, okay, to show you how I'm trying to put this on. So what I did, I decided to go with this base. I don't know, I'm showing you where I'm looking down, but it's actually a base that stands up, and you can see how I've sort of balanced the bird on here, and it's not quite hugging the whole piece of wood, but the feet are going to look like it's going to attach itself to it. So I'm trying to give you an idea. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to take this apart. Now I'm going to pull this up, and I have two. What I use is florist wire, but this is like, I've got like 18 gauge and 16 gauge, and these are thick enough, and I use two of them, and that really steadies you. To have just one by itself doesn't always do it. Now this piece here was too pointy and coming up, so what I did is I cut it off, round it over to make it look like it's weathered, and adjust it so that I drilled 2 pins in there, and then I did the same thing in this area right here on the owl, in the breast area. I drilled straight in and straight in. Then I put the pins, I drove the pins in here and here. And this is just, like I said, florist wire. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll get like a burr, or sometimes this is a diamond bit, and I drill in so far, straight in, and then I put the wire in. The wire's like this, you know. I sell the wire, they're like 10 cents a strand if you ever need any. And there's different gauges. The one's heavier. This isn't the heaviest one I have. And what I do is I'll cut like a piece of it. Oh, it could be, this is really short. I know they're longer than that. And I'll get something like this and drive it in so it's in a good ways. And then I'll cut it off with a wire cutter and then have it projected out. And then I'll get the diamond bit I just had in my hand that I put down. Oh, here it is, on my machine. And I drill that in. And this has probably got about a 1/2 inch in, and it's like a, it's a real pointed one. And I drive that up, and I'll make sure it's widened. You know, I'll go in and go back and forth, same way on this one. And then you want to make sure that when you get it all done, that when you put it together, there's no gapping when it comes down onto the wood. Let me show you here again. I drive it back, and if you look, there's hardly any separation between the wood it's being mounted on and the bird's body itself. There is a little, we had that hollowed out area in the breast area. That little bit isn't going to hurt, but that's snug up right against it. So that's what I'm trying to get you to do if you're trying to mount it. You want to get it hugged in. There's another way of doing this too, and I didn't want to do it on this one, but I've done it before. In fact, I think if I show you this one, this is one I had done before. I actually had this branch coming out, and I wanted to get it in there. So what I ended up doing was I marked whereabouts the branch width is, and I hollowed out the bird and then fit it in, okay? So it gets real snug in there. And if you look from the side here, this is right on up in there, okay? So that's why this is really hugging that, and you could do that too. So you would be marking out whatever the width of the branch is that you're attaching it to. And in the case of a branch, you know, mine's a real pointy top here, and that doesn't have that setup. But if I were putting it on something like this, I could hollow out the width of that branch right around that area there, and just go in with a hogging bit and grind it out, and just do enough so that this would fit right on. Okay, and that's one way of attaching it. But at the same time, you also have to see how you're presenting this owl when it's standing straight up, and is this working for you? And is the position of the owl looking at you, and the wood is still looking interesting as a setting? And that's what I always try to concentrate on. Because this head is turned 90 degrees. Normally, the face would be in line with the breast, but I always give it movement by turning the heads and stuff like that. So this head would be this way normally if it was looking straight on, but the head's turned, so you have to sort of make plans for that. So if your branch is coming through here and it's looking this way, the arrangement of your setup for mounting this would be an interesting setting, and that's what I'm trying to get at. So what I end up doing, and I'm going to do this in stages again, so that I don't lose you. In this case here, I did not want to cut in to here and then maybe have to doctor up some of these feathers if I go out too far. If you're going to try to grind out onto the bird so it fits right onto the branch and it hugs the branch, you have to really make sure you do a couple of fit ups to make sure that it is accounting for this snugging right up to it. And you don't want to leave a lot of cut areas that got ground away that you got to start manicuring again with paint and everything else. So that's something to consider. So in the case I didn't want any of that, I just figured I'd pin it, and I propped it right into a situation like this where these will slide in, and there you go. I got it mounted, and it looks, I think it'll look good once I get done with this whole setup. Okay, and some of you, if you can't find driftwood or something like that, I got plenty of driftwood. I sell the driftwood, and if you need a base, this is like a carved base, but I got some solid bases which would look like this. Okay, and these, some of them are 1.5 inches thick, some of them are thinner, and I got some walnut ones. I don't know how many I have left. This is what they call Spanish cedar, and there's a variety of ways you can do it. I just happen to have a lot of these around, and they're not as expensive as the Spanish cedar one. But I'm going to show you how to dress this all out and everything else, okay, for this type of base, okay? So now the trick is, and I'm going to put this in, and this is going to be kind of interesting because my camera is always looking down, and I'm going to need to turn that eventually to show you how I go about doing this. But what's going to happen is I want to show feet that stick out from here and look like they're holding on to the wood. And then I'll also show you how to put some on the back end, because owls have like generally 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. Okay, so if you're owl is really like in this one here. If it's hog really huddling up real close to the wood, that's the nice part about grinding out the owl and fitting it in, that everything looks hugged in there and you don't really see the hind legs and you don't have to put them in. So I have 2 toes that show in the front and then nothing in the back. But sometimes I'll put a couple in the back, just depending. Now, here's what I use, and the scale of this is like a problem in a sense, because it's only a quarter scale. You're not going to find something of a casting that you can buy and readily get what you want as far as for an owl's foot. So you want to make them, okay? Well, this is a screech owl's foot, and I have sets of these. This is a right foot and a left foot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these as my feet, but this is just too big. So what I end up doing is these are cast feet, and I sell them. And most of my feet, you could bend these like this. You can bend them back down. I guarantee that they won't break. But, you know, if you do it enough, it will. But you have enough play in here that you can bend these and to suit yourself, you know what I mean? And get to the position you want to get this wrapping around maybe that piece of wood or something like that. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to come in, and because I don't want all of this leg, because this is just too long for this size owl, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to snip. I'm going to come up and maybe give it a length a little bit more than about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to cut it off. It cuts real easy. That's going to be 1 toe, okay? Then I'm going to get the next biggest toe. I'll take this one. This ain't the biggest one, but excuse me. It's the next biggest one. And I cut that off. And now I have 2 toes. Now, eventually what I'm going to try to do is this. I'm going to try to get this. I'm going to drill a hole into the owl right about here. And I want that to go in so it looks like it's coming out. And then I'm going to drill another hole and have this one over on this side a little bit. And I got to get 4 of these in, okay? Because there's 2 on this side and 2 on that side. And you got to sort of make them look balanced. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to also cut the back one. Now, the back toe on the screech owl really isn't that long, but they have normally, like I said, 2 toes front, 2 toes back, and they can switch them around. But we're just going to show 2. I'm going to cut that one off, which is would be the back toe, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut this one, and I'll have this as like a spare. It could be either one of these. And then I'm going to come across here and I'm going to do the same thing so I can have it for the second set. So I basically cut all the feet off of what was the screech owl. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to cut that off. I'm coming back here, and we can modify this length, but you could keep the whole length that these are, or don't want it too long though. And there, and I'm going to cut this one right here. So now I just got toes, and I don't need them joining, okay? So we got one set here, and we got one set over here. Now, what I'm going to do, and I'll show you, I'm going to get my, let's See if I can find my flame tip here. Ruby. Or yeah, here it is. Oh, this ain't a ruby. I'm sorry. Yeah, here it is. I got one. I got this flame tip ruby. Now, I'm going to try to tilt this. Let me see if I can get something I could lay this down. So I want you to look what I'm doing going in. Let me see if I can find a piece of cloth or something. Let's see. I'm gonna get something like this so that I can lay this down so that you're looking in basically to what I'm doing here. Now, I'm gonna use that just to stop that from rolling. Let me get this a little further back. Hope I'm in the range. Let's see. Sometimes I get out of range here. Yeah. I'm going to move my camera back a little bit more. I don't know if that's covering it or not. Let me see. Yeah, I think it is. So I'm going to come in here, get this back in there, and then I'm going to have this angled about like this. Okay. So this is not the way to do it. I should be having you look straight in on it, but I'm tilting this so that you can see what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to get a pencil and I want to do some markings. Now, excuse me. I want to get 2 feet over here, so I need to get one over this way, and I need one here, and then I need to have give it some space, and then get another one over here. So I'm going to come over here. Let me get a marker instead. Maybe you'll be able to see it better if I have something that's thinner. I don't know if this has ink in it or not. Let me see. Well, we'll try this and see what happens. I'm going to put a mark right there. That's going to indicate to me to drill into that spot right there. And then I'm going to come, I have a piece of wire in the middle there, and then I'm going to come over on this side so I can have a little bit of space. This isn't really marking well. I got to get something that will mark well. I've got a lot of these. Here we go. Hopefully, this is a Sharpie. Yeah, this has got some ink in it. Some of these dry out on me, so I want to put a mark right there, and then I'm going to put a mark here. I'm trying to. There we go. That'll be an indicator to where I want to draw, want to run the bit into. Then I got that in there. Then I want to come over about here, get a little space between them, and I'm going to drill another one right here. And if you noticed, I'm trying to keep it close to the top of this wood. I'll drill it out there, and then I'll put one that's over in this area here. So hopefully I could see this when I go to put these in. Okay, and you don't want to go onto your wire that I have in there, you know what I mean? Now, I'm going to get my flame tip, wherever I put it again. Out here it is. I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to get that in. Then I'm going to turn my micro grinder on. Now I'm going to take this out of here. And let me get my optivisor so I can see what I'm doing. And I always like to use additional magnification so I can make sure I'm hitting a mark. So I have one mark right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight in on that. Like so. And I'll wiggle it a little bit. Then there's that my second mark right here. And I'm going to go in. Literally burns its way in, smoking. Wiggle that a little bit. Then, I knew I was going to get lost on this one. It's this one here, I'm not sure of. So, let me do this. Sometimes you got to do it over again to make sure that all your stuff is lining up. So I'm going to put that back in. Oh, I see it now. It didn't show up as well, but here's the marking, and I'm going to see if I can mark it again because I got lost. This is the one mark right here. I'm going to heavy it again. I don't think you even see it in there. This isn't this pen has seen better days because I've used it so often for different things. So I do see it now. So I'm going to put that off to the side. The marks that I'm looking for are here. It's there and there. Okay. So here we go again. And I'm trying to go straight in. So where do I get? Here it is. Right there. I'll lay my bit on there. Just drive it in. And then wiggle it a little bit so I have a little more room. I don't know if it's big enough to take the toes yet. And then I'm going to angle this one out this way a little bit, but still straight in. And now we got the toes pretty much set to get in there. So going back to the holes I have for mounting. So I slide that in. And then I got two holes. I'm going to try to show you how. I'm going to try to use this as a prop to keep this from rolling. So I could keep this in this position. So I don't think I'm going to use the back toes. I'm just going to use the front rather than try to get the back foot. Now, these have pads on them. Now, if this has like this pad sticks out and it's wider, so maybe the smart thing to do is to cut that off because that's going to make for a bigger hole. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to get a burr or a stone. And these are like a carbon silicate stone. These are very inexpensive. They're only a couple dollars. And generally people have them, you know, in their sets that they get. But if you ever need them, I have them available. And I'm going to get this guy in here. And when I cut that off, I'm just going to, I can soften that so it doesn't have, it sort of tapers in a little bit. And that's what I'm doing there, just to finish it. And this is also going to help me get it into the hole. So I'm going to come over here on the first hole. And this is the trouble I'm trying to do here. I hope I'm not getting out of range and I'm not losing you guys. It's because of the angle I'm trying to do this too. There we go. That's going in. And I'm going to get this. And I'm plugging this into there. We don't want it. I'm going to just get it in there. It wants to go in further. Then let me leave that one. And this other one, I'm going to try to thin back again with the stone, the carbon silicate stone, so it tapers in. You don't have to do much because the holes aren't that big. Let's see how this one fits. I'm going to get this one and stick that one into this hole. Sure I am. There you go. It's going in that hole. Okay. I don't think that's going in that far, so I'm gonna thin it out one more time. Just so it'll slip into that hole a little easier. I'm just trying to make it a little bit thinner, not a lot, but so it goes right into that hole. These are just fit ups. This ain't the end all. Yeah, see, this one I can turn. This one isn't exactly cooperating. And what's good too, I have tweezers that would help when you're dealing with this. But right now, I'm just doing a quick fit up like this. Okay. Now, we're going to go with the other set. Let me see if I could just put one right in there. There's one right in there. And they have the nail, and the nail's a pretty good size. And hopefully I could plug this one in. And there you go. Okay. You got a set over here, and a set over here. And you could sort of get these two huddling over this way. And you got these two over here. These are just temporary, but that's about all you need because the back end, you're not really going to see them, okay? That could be under the tail, and it's not, the breast is hugging the wood, so that, I don't think we'll be able to use the rest of them, at least on this setting. If your bird is sticking out further away, then you could build up from the back. Like the last one I showed you that was finished, I never did put the hind feet on at all, okay? But if you wanted to, you can. It's just doing the same thing, except you gotta drill a hole in the back and slide that in. But generally, if you can get these, this is the two in the front are really just enough to show, okay? And this is what I use to get these in place. Now I'm doing this temporarily because the best way to handle this is to glue this in, okay? So I am going to do this. I'm going to get these feet that are already pre-cut, and I'll just have them here, but I don't think I'm going to use those. Now, I'm going to take these out that I have here. That'll be for that side, and I'll move these because I know they'll go in, and they'll go on this side. And now the prep work comes, okay? So for what I have there, now I want to anchor all this, okay, in place. So what I want to get is this. I'm going to, bear with me 1 second here. I have 5-minute epoxy. And the 5-minute epoxy is just that. It sets in 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt out so much. And one thing I hope, because I'm doing such a crazy setup, you know, where I'm trying to get you to see what I'm doing. This here is the hardener, so I squeeze about, I'm only going to put a little bit out because I just want to anchor these pins in place, okay? So I get a little bit of glue on that one, and then this is the other part, and I squeeze out equal amount on this one, like that. And then what I do is I get one of those pieces of wire that I've had here that I use, and I'm going to stir that, okay? I only need a little bit because I'm only gluing in just the wire, because what I want to do is get this out of here now. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the portion that was plugged in there originally, and I don't know if you've seen that. Let me bring this over. This is the holes that I had, and I hope I'm in view here, or I'm going to have to do this video again, which I have had happen to me before. So I'm going to come in here with the glue, and I'm getting it into the hole for starters. And I use the same setup here. I don't get a lot of glue on. It's just enough to get in there. Now, I'm going to get this wire that I just pulled out. I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to manicure a little bit of the glue onto that wire. I don't want to get my fingers on this because then you get 5-minute epoxy all over. Then I'm going to stick that in. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the other. I'm going to pull this out. See how long that was in there. Now, what I'm going to do here is get this. Well, I'll get a little bit on here. Okay, on both sides. Then I'm going to stick this right into the hole. And make sure most of the glue is in the hole. You don't want to get so much that it's running all over the place, okay? So I get that in there, and I got it on here. Then I'm going to plug this in. Okay. And I get that down in there. Now I got both of them set. We can move these even after they're set, but we want to anchor them in there. So that's a must. You need to do this. And this is the spacing. If you want to be smart about it, you can come in here and make sure that the spacing's the same, and you can get these wires to match up to what we have here. At least that's what I'm trying to do. I think this had to be bent back this way. Now, let me try this, because we had the spacing already set, and I can see that that's changed. So I'm going to get a pair of pliers. And turn that around. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. This is going back. I'm going to tap that in a little bit more. And I'm going to get this a little closer, like this, because I think that's the way it was going into the body. And what we could do is a fit up, just to make sure that the body goes right up into there, the way it should, okay? Now that I know it's there, I'm going to come out. Let's see if I move those wires in the meantime. It's there and there. Okay. I'm going to slide that out. And I'm going to leave those wires as is. I see what's happening here. This one dropped in more. So I'm going to pull it out more. I'm going to take a chance with it. Now, I'm going to let, boo. That's another dumb thing. You don't want to, it didn't get any glue on it, but when you're doing the gluing process, get the glue out of the way afterwards. You can see I almost put this owl right onto it, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to get the owl out of the way. I have these glued in, and that's what I want to do now. I just want this to sit. I'm going to put this off to the side, let this set up, and I'm going to give it more than 5 minutes. I'll give it a while. So we're not going to deal with that as much as we're going to deal with the feet right now, okay? So the feet, what we want to do to save some time and everything else, we need to prime these and paint these, okay? So let me hopefully say that we're still in focus here. Boy, I hope I got most of it within the range of my camera when I did all that, but we'll find out. If not, I'll have to do it again. I'm going to get, it's a sealer, and I'm going to try to, let's see what I could put it in. I'm going to get a little cup or a tray. Let me just do this. I'm just going to get a little tray, and you can even use a paint tray. Let me use that instead. That'll probably be a little more easier to handle. Talking about like one of these that we use to mix our paints in. And what I want to do is use these as a holder. I'm going to come in and get a brush, and I'm just going to get, this here is Joe Sanyo's all-purpose sealer, but there's several people that make sealers. And if you don't have this, you can get matte medium, which is a medium we use with acrylics too. And you can get small jars of that. And all I'm asking you to do is, well, I don't know. I'm going to do this instead. And I don't even know if this is good or not, because it's been a while since we used these. Yeah, this is, let me get another fresh batch. This has been sitting around so long, it's really not good anymore. So bear with me a second. There's Joe Sanyo in a larger bottle now. So what I'm going to do, just instead of pouring it out, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to moisten my brush just to get some water on it, then I get it out. Okay, I just want a damp brush. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pick up some of this, like so. I just picked up a little bit right here. I hope I was in camera range, and if I didn't, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to come in, and I'm going to paint this with the sealer as best I can without painting my fingers. And then I'll lay this in the tray, and then I'm going to try to touch the nail up. There is a better way of doing this. And what I could do is use my tools here. Just pick up a little bit, and you put it on. Spread it nice and evenly all the way around, like so. Then you can put that down. Then you can hold the back end and paint the nail. Let me do that on this one too, to get politically correct here on getting the whole thing sealed. And I think I have enough sealer in there. I could probably do them all anyway, but let me do this. I'll get this, hold this, paint the upper part here. Because this goes a long ways. Then I'm going to put that down, grab the back end, coat the nail, because that's going to be prominently shown that it's, there you go. And then we got one more. I'll hold that, get a little bit on my brush, and we got that coated all the way around. Put that down, grab the back end, and then do the front. Okay. Without doing finger painting, as I call it. Okay, they all dropped in there. Now, definitely, you want to clean your brush. You don't want that to settle in on your brush. Get it all out, because this, it's like everything else. It will set up, and your brush will set up, and then your brush is not usable anymore. So that was the end of that. So this is, again, Joe Sanyo all-purpose sealer, but you can use matte medium as well. And it's you only need a little bit, because it goes a long ways for what we're using here. Now, if I do this right without blowing these away, I'm going to put some air to this, okay? And I'm going to try to dry this while we're talking here. And normally, I'm trying to expedite this. I would normally just do this, let it sit for half an hour without putting the heat on, so that it'll just dry on its own. See, these old hair dryers of mine cut off when they decide to, they want to, rather than, I'm gonna put this one low. There we go. Got another one. And what I want to do is I'm trying to speed up the process of getting this sealer dry on here. So I'm gonna see what I could do here. I don't know. Usually, see, it's tacky still. So I'm gonna do this in a haphazard way, but I would recommend you to put the sealer on excuse me, the other one decided to work. And you can see how it wants to cling. So my best bet, I'll try to do it on a couple of these just to get you prepared to get the feet the way they should be, okay? I'm going to do this now like this to expedite just a couple. I'm going to let these things dry by itself, and hopefully a couple of these will be dry enough that, yeah, I can handle. And I'm going to show you how to do it with a couple. But we're not going to be mounting this right away. We're just prepping the feet, okay? And also going to do this. We're going to do a couple steps. First thing we want to do is get a little bit of white out. This is the titanium white. And very little water because we want it creamy. About 3 drops. And then, let's see, I'll get my brush again. I'm going to stir that up. And I don't want anything but like a creamy mix, okay? Because I want it so it coats in one coat, okay? So what I would normally do at this stage of the game is I'm going to come in. You can either get your device like this, or if you've got tweezers or something like that, this would be an ideal thing. And what you want to do is paint the whole thing white, okay? And you can put it down. And then I'll pick up the back end and I'll paint the nail. Okay. Now, normally, I'm going to rinse my brush out in between here. And I'm only going to do a couple of these toes at a time. Normally, I would do all of these. But like I said, I would like you to put the sealer on first and let it go for about a half an hour. But to expedite this, to keep me rolling on the video, I'm only going to do one at a time. And I want to make sure that I grab the back end and everything is coated with the white, okay? Then we come in, again, not blowing the hot air on the toes. I'm going to ask you to come in and dry this real good, okay? All of them at the same time. After the sealer's dry, then you put this on, okay? And you want to dry them each time in between. And you see, I see a little bit of a silver color from the bottom here. And that didn't do it. So I'm going to come in again, pick up a little white because, boy, can't hold on to my feet. I want to make sure that I got everything white. Okay. Let me get that out of there. I'm going to put this on high, so this is going to make a little more noise. Well, maybe not. There we go. This is on a higher setting, so I get more heat. And I want to get this coated up faster so I can show you. So I'm going to ask you to go in and make sure all the silver is out of there, the silver color from the casting. And then you have this, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put that down for a second. And we're going to get burnt sienna, burnt yeah, burnt sienna. And I have some here, but I'm going to make sure, let me make sure my brush is nice and clean and not carrying the white, because at this point, I don't want that. I'm going to get a little bit of paint on my brush and mix it in with the previous paint I already had, okay? Like so. And this is somewhat on the creamy side, so I'm trying to get this almost as a one coat, okay? And something tells me I'm going to be out of the range on some of this painting, but here's what I want to do. After this is dry and you want it thorough, I want you to do it to all four of these. I'm going to ask you to come in over top of the white and get this with the burnt sienna mix, okay? Like so. Now, you don't really have to worry about the back end because that's going into the body, but the front end, you want to get a nice coat. It doesn't have to be pretty because we'll manicure it again afterwards. So that is what I want you to do. And here's the other thing too. See where I forgot some white on the underneath side here? You want to make sure you got top, bottom, and everything. And then I'm going to let that sit, okay? Now, we're not going to be able to accomplish everything on this video. So the deal I want you to do is seal all these with a sealer or a matte medium and let that sit. You give it a nice thin coat of that, and it sort of takes the sheen away a little bit, but doesn't have to. Then you're going to go with a creamy white after that dries, and this takes about, I'd give it a half hour after you put the sealer on. Then you're going to go with the white and make a creamy mix, and it's good if you have tweezers, and if you hold the back end, you can go in and paint everything white. And then the smart thing to do would be to let that sit and dry on its own too. Then after that's done, then you make a mix on the creamy side of burnt sienna, and you paint the feet. It's not going to look pretty, and you're going to see it gets a little blotchy, and that's okay. And then after this dries, you could come back and you can give it another coat, okay? And then things will start evening itself out, all right? And then you let that dry on its own, okay? And I wouldn't concern myself about the white in the back end, okay? Now, what I'm going to say to you is we're going to do another video where I'll show you how to apply that onto the bird, and we do have the bird will be anchored. That's the other thing I didn't have is once this has been sitting for a while, which it has, this is starting to get firm. So in between, while you're doing all this, you can get some 5-minute epoxy and apply it on here and a little bit into those holes that support it, just a little bit. And I will do that before we get back doing this video again. And then I'll make sure that all these wires go into the holes we prepped. And I see that it's not going that way, so I will bend them to fit the spacing of the holes we had in there originally. And I will make sure that they go into them. I don't know why I'm having such a problem, but I will rectify that. And we will get them in there. I'm going to get in there like that. Then I press them in, and I'm going to glue the bird onto this base. Okay, so the bird will be glued in, and all you have is the feet showing. Okay, or the holes for the feet. And then I'm going to come in on the next video and I'm going to show you how to attach the feet so that the whole thing becomes a permanent mount completely. But what I want to do is make sure that you've anchored this pretty good, okay? And get it in the upright position, looking straight out at you on the piece of wood you want that has a base and everything else. You know, you could even use driftwood. I just happen to have a fancy carved base, but if anybody needs bases or something like that, I have them available as well. And the thing is, you don't want the bird to be like tilting backwards. You want it to look like it has a good position when you're looking in on it, okay? And not tilting this way or that way, but sort of standing straight up on your piece. So I will try to, when I go to glue it, to make sure that it's glued in the position I want and not something tilting. Right now, I had to play with the wire a little bit because I probably didn't get it in exactly, but I will make sure that this bird looks proper when I plug it in, and I'll make sure that it stays in that position so that the 5-minute epoxy will really hold up and hold that in place in its proper position. So let me leave you on that note and concern yourself that the bird doesn't shift on you. Make sure your feet are doing the steps I just showed you, and then we will put this together, and I'll show you how we do a fit up on that too to make everything work, okay? And then we're going to dress this out with some, I have some what they call reindeer moss. And again, I have this available if anybody needs it. And it's a type of moss that will stay very flexible. And we're going to add that to the base and a little bit to the base of this, like this in here. And I'll show you how to do that, and a little bit in here too, to just dress it out. So I'll show you all that on the next video, and I think we'd be able to do a wrap up at that point in time. So hope you got something out of this. We're getting really down to the end. One video should do it, and I think we got everything done. And you should have a mounted owl on the next video. So if you got something out of it, I would ask you to give me a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe to my channel or recommend me to your friends or anybody that may be interested in doing not only the owl but other birds I've done and animals and what have you. And love to get that response from you. That would be great. If you need any of the things I have here, I have some of the paints. I also have the moss available. And if you're really not being able to get some driftwood or something like that, and that's what I use in a lot of these, is I try to hunt up pieces that will show or showy. And but I would say, go out in the woods, see what's available out there or in your backyard or whatever, and we'll see if we can't get you to start getting your bird anchored down here. So, and then we'll pursue on. And even if the bird moves a little bit, I'll show you how we can still get the feet in there, even if the mark, we're not on the mark. There's ways of getting around that. So we're getting close. So give me a holler if you ever need anything. I have catalogs, And like I said, if you need to get a hold of me, in the description of the video, I have my email address, and you can contact me that way, and I can send a catalog out to you. And if you don't see things in the catalog that I talk about, give me a call and I'll, or ask me through the email. I can then you can get in touch with me, even through the catalog too. There's information to get a hold of me, and then we could talk, and I could put things more together for you, what you need or don't need. So see you on the next video, and I hope you got something out of this one as well. Thank you very much, and we'll see you then. Bye now.